Self-Publishing Podcast, episode number 142.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is brought to you by 99 Designs, the online marketplace that helps you get outstanding book cover designs at an affordable price. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99.
Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, where if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And now, here are your hosts, sometimes known as the Shill, the Nose, and the Yeti, Johnny, Sean, and Dave.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, the podcast that follows three full-time authors as we attempt to change the face of indie publishing. Join us and our trailblazing guests as we shove aside boundaries, freely experiment, and occasionally screw up. I'm Johnny B. Truant, and my co-hosts are Sean Platt and David Wright. And I'd like to issue a challenge to Sean to see if you can not make noise during Dave's little thing there. What's pretty fun is I yelled at you about
a little
it.
Thing.
Dave does have a little thing. I yelled at you about it last time, but I had muted myself. So you can hear it on the podcast feed. Sean's like, or something like that. I don't know what he was doing this time.
I think he's making a grunt sculpture.
Well, I think what we're risking is making the show seem unprofessional in some way.
We would hate to do that.
That would be terrible.
I have been commanded under penalty of flogging by Amy, our studio manager, to mention that today, if you're listening on the audio feed, I believe, the 28th is the last day for early bird registration of the Colonist Summit that we're holding in Austin, Texas on April 18th and 19th. And the URL to check that out is sterlingandstone.net/colonist. So the early bird is 25% off.
And you're running out of seats, aren't you?
We are running out of seats. Does anybody have a... See, now I did so well. I remember the dates. I remember the early bird. And now I'm not going to know the number of seats left. It's single digits.
I think we have nine seats left.
Oh, okay. So there you go. If you want to get in and get the early bird pricing, you should do that now. We don't have any late breaking news about that, do we? We had a hangout. It was kind of cool. It's not Dream Engine focused necessarily. We'll cover that, but I think that some people thought that it was going to be, and reasonably so, because it grew out of the Fiction Unboxed Kickstarter. I think people thought that it was going to be like if you're doing Dream Engine's World Books.
No, the coolest thing I think about it is the whole. All the details are on. If you just go to sterlingandstone.net/colonist, it's all there. Monica wrote that. Thanks again, Monica. That was awesome.
Yeah. Boom.
But basically, the way it's going to be is there's four big topic areas that we'll be talking about. But my favorite part, I think that'll be really, really cool. I'm excited about all those things. We'll be talking about optimization a lot, and by that time we'll have the first quarter of the year, all the little things that we're doing right now, all the little tweaks. We can really break those down one by one. So that'll be really fun. But we're also going to have all the attendees will have a hot seat. And what that means basically is that they can bring a problem, to the session. And
I hope nobody brings Carl Sinclair if they're all allowed to bring a problem.
And basically get their sorry, my phone's gone off all day. Basically get all the attention on them, so they can say, okay, I'm having a problem with this story, or I'm having a problem with this funnel. This is my business. But basically, the spotlight is on them, and not only will they get me and Johnny kind of breaking down their problem and offering solutions and trying to figure out a way to make whatever it is that they want to make better, but they'll also have the time and attention of the entire room, which I always love stuff like that in masterminds. I always feel like no matter what I'm bringing for my hot seat, I always really benefit from hearing what other people are struggling through, and hearing a room kind of break down problems one by one. I think it's as invaluable on a business level as like Dave's talking about last time, how valuable the story was to sit there and brainstorm with other creatives and authors to be crackling with those kind of ideas. I think on a business level, it's just amazing fun. So I'm really looking forward to the hot seats.
There will be a post on there will be, if you're listening live, there will be, future tense, a post on the blog on Monday, the 26th. That's 10 things you need to know about the Colonist session, if you're thinking about it. They grew out of that Q&A, and obviously, if you figure this out, it's actually in the past if you're listening on the feed. That's the way it works, because you'll be on Wednesday in the future. Hello to the future. We're here in the past, and you can check that out. But it's more like a mastermind. It's more strategic. We do have at least one person attending who doesn't even do fiction. She's exclusively nonfiction, and a lot of people that I'm really looking forward to meeting and hanging out with and sharing minds, because we walk away smarter too. So it's going to be great. So there you go.
And if Carl were going, I want to say I would change my mind and then I would go.
I actually, that was a joke with the bringing a problem thing, but I actually really would like to meet Carl. I think that would be fantastic.
Carl's like me, so I mean, two of me and you and Sean, it would be like the most interesting pairing ever.
No, that would tear the space-time continuum.
And let's face it, on a sheer mass basis, you would then outbalance us. You know, Sean and I versus you and Carl.
You'd make us a little more positive, and we'd make you a little more cynical, and I don't know if that would do any of us any good, really.
I made a Len Curry reference in a project I was writing just a few days ago. And I went to Carl's blog specifically to look up his worst day ever story, because I couldn't remember what kind of curry, and I thought it would be funny to tip the hat to Carl and his lamb curry story, where that was the worst thing that happened other than the Ultimate Warrior dying.
I came across that. I came across that line today, as a matter of fact. That was awesome.
Fantastic.
He's got a rough life.
He does. First world problems all the way.
But to be fair, he lives in Australia, a place where the environment and animals are trying to kill you all the time. And the fact that the Ultimate Warrior is the biggest problem in his day, even when his house is on fire, is very interesting.
It's really kind of a success story when you think about it. Like the fact that he's in Australia and that's all that's happened to him. It's a good thing.
Do you have any objection to writing a Fire NATO book? Because I'm kind of down.
Only we can write it with Carl.
There you go.
Carl, if you're listening, Fire NATO, are you interested?
Sure, he's sleeping. It's late there.
I'm sure he is. All right, so today's topic is, and don't confuse my announcing the topic with us going to get into the topic, because that's not the way we roll here, folks.
No.
Is going to be how to use Amazon instead of Amazon using you, which is something that has kind of, I know these guys will have a lot to say about it, but it's something that has hit me from a few different directions lately, listening to other podcasts and reading books, the common theme of using the platforms but not falling into the platforms and coming to be totally and completely dependent. So that's what we want to talk about today.
But before we talk about that, I really think that we should talk about the most important thing today, and that is the fact that it is somebody's birthday here.
That's right. Do you know what I got Sean for his birthday?
A hooker?
No, got him a BookBub ad.
A BookBub ad? Holy shit!
Yeah, that is
what I sent him.
No, when we finally got, because BookBub has routinely rejected us for like the last 9 years. Now that's in self-publishing time, right? Which are like dog years, right? And so for the last 9 years,
of 6 months or something like that.
But we have been just routinely rejected every single time, and then we finally got our yay, we're accepted, and Johnny forwarded me the email, and I'm like, that's my birthday! What the best birthday present! Yay! So yeah, that was the best present.
Yeah, I think I said to you, don't expect me to ever remember your birthday. I just don't. I just don't remember birthdays. I said the only reason I know it is because of the BookBub ad, and I remembered Haley's birthday too, because that came up recently. Like you were like, well, Haley has a birthday dinner, so I was like, oh, my kids should send Haley a birthday email, which they did. So there you go. So I'm not usually this good, and Dave, nobody knows his birthday.
It's redacted.
Happy birthday. I wasn't born.
I was actually thinking about it. I pitched Sean the idea today of us always trying to do a major promotion on each of our birthdays to celebrate it. And then I thought, well, Dave, like your birthday is kind of like, only 1/365th of the world population shares that day, so it really narrows it down.
I use birthday on like every bit of like.
That's what I meant.
And everything.
That's what I was going to suggest, is that you actually have a decoy birthday.
I do. No lie.
I'm actually sad because my birth certificate did not. I've ordered a birth certificate because I don't know where mine is, and it didn't come in the mail today.
Good luck
And-
proving you were ever born, fucker.
Well, it means that I have to take the driving test, which I just so don't want to do because I need it. My California license is now expired. I went to go swap it out to get a Texas license, but I didn't have all the documentation I needed, so now I have to go back, and because it's expired, now I'm gonna have to take the written and the driving test, and I'm just so not looking forward to that. So
Well, I'm sure if you call your mom, she has a copy of your birth certificate laying around somewhere.
I'm sure she does. It's probably under a dead pigeon.
Did you ever see that Phineas and Ferb where Doofenshmirtz had to go back to Drusselstein to take the driver's test? That's a good one.
I've never seen that.
Was it in black and white?
No, I don't think so.
We
Oh,
do have a few comments here. Kate Morgan says, made it to the live feed today. Yay, looking forward to learning how I can shake off Amazon's pimp hand.
Well, no, I think that you're going to use that pimp hand to caress you. I don't think you're shaking it totally off.
Amy says, if anyone wants to see the Q&A, the question, about the colonists, email help@sterlingandstone.net, and I'll send you a link. David Anson says, hello, everyone. Richard Brown says, has hell frozen over? The beam's on sale for 99 cents? What the fuck?
Well, that's the BookBub promo. And
No, I like how expressive Dave was in reading that comment.
MG on says, happy birthday, you know who.
Thank you, MGN.
Santa.
Yeah, what the hell's up with the beam at 99 cents, man? You guys, I thought it was only $9.99 forever. You were like, fuck that, we're never doing a sale. Fuck that shit. We're not doing a sale. No, this is premium shit. This is for the elite, man. There's no fucking sale here. What happened, you sellout motherfuckers?
I hear they call that a promotion. Yes.
No, fuck that, man. You turned your back on your ideals, man.
The funny thing is that I would probably be taking Dave a little bit seriously, despite all the sarcasm, if he hadn't been the one to deliberately say, you have to mention that you had the BookBub ad today, and people understand sales and all this stuff. No, honestly, though, I think that the reduction in price of a normal price of $9.99 down to 99 cents is probably one of the factors that made it attractive to BookBub. And one of the things,
price all your books at $9.99 to get a BookBub ad, right?
Right. It's a fantastic short-term, easy money strategy to have a really high price for like a year, and then you can run an ad. It's fantastic because we do everything short-term around here. But I did learn something interesting that you guys may care about. It's just one of those little things, and is if you go in this is Amazon in a KDP dashboard. The first thing you get now is that graph, right? And then you have to click on something to get the actual totals, and the totals are always delayed. So you can always just be like, okay, well, I know that things are selling now. Like I know BookBub sent their ad, but you have to wait, and then you start to see them trickle in hours and hours later. Well, the graph does not appear to be delayed at all, because I went into the dashboard and I was like, what the fuck? There's this big red line shooting straight up. So it's kind of like seeing into a very happy future, which is nice.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens with that. We just so everybody understands a little bit of the mechanics of the promotion, we also lowered the price of Season 2 and put it in the product description there. So Season 2 is temporarily at half price. This is sort of an Ed Robertson promo on one, discount the next sort of a thing. And they're both moving, and so that's great. And we also, for Lexi's list, because we're basically pretty much the authors of The Future of Sex, with like Lexi getting in there and making it filthy, but we're the Beam World architects. We did a promo on that, just a free one, and it kind of took off. And so having those two Beam World things together is kind of exciting. It went up to 84, 83 in the store, something like that.
79. It peaked at 79.
That's right.
Which is awesome. And I think that's worth talking about too.
Couldn't go 10 higher.
It would have been really appropriate.
That would have been fantastic. I think that's worth talking about just for a moment too, because this is the optimization that we keep on talking about. We're 3 weeks into the year, and I'm thrilled with how all of this is going so far. It's that is our word for this year, and we're working really hard to tweak this and that and whatever. And and the future of sex is one that's very specific. Like, we can already tangibly look at that and see what a difference it's made. So the optimization that we did there is we got a new cover, and we and Johnny rewrote.
For which book are you talking about?
This is the future of sex.
This is the future of sex, and so far there's 6 books written. And we have new covers for the first 3, and the second 3 are already in production. But Johnny went in and we actually unpublished and then republished. The first 2 are out now, and we actually so here's a few optimizations that we did. The first was new covers, which have made a big difference.
Maybe 90% of the difference. I mean, the material was always, in my opinion, great. Like, it was always a great story. But you wrap it up differently, and even I feel different about it.
But see, that's the magic here.
Those covers ready again while you're talking, if you think that's interesting.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Johnny?
I said I can get those covers ready again while you're talking, if you think that's interesting.
Yeah, I do. I do think it's a big deal because I think that's the magic here. We always believed in the future of sex. We think it's one of the best things we've done. It's a really good story. It asks a lot of big questions. And the book hasn't changed at all. There's not one word that's different. But it has a new cover, and Johnny rewrote the product description, and it's keyword oriented. The categories are right. It's much more of an SEO driven. We're trying to understand discoverability, and how would people who are very interested in this title, would they find it? And it's just performing better after the first couple of weeks of this year than it has in the year and a half that we had it out before. And I just think that's kind of amazing. Again, we didn't.
And
we
the
didn't change
promo.
anything.
Sorry, Sean. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in the using Amazon thing. But we said we were going to do this. We're dabbling a little bit with Select, just with a few titles, and Future of Sex is one of them. And so the title the promo we have right now for this is it's a Select free promo, and we did submit it to some free sites, but I think a lot of this is just momentum. It's been free for a day and a half, and 2,500 copies so far downloaded. It just kind of took off, and that was surprising. But I think it was like already steeped in the algorithms, and the new cover, which I'll show, I guess, in a second here, and the description, I think, really sold it, and there's something magnetic about it. So anyway, so here's the I'll show you the cover thing. So this is the original. Dave did this, and I think that Dave did a really good job, considering, what it was a really hard cover. Like, we kind of didn't know what to do with this. Dave asked us for what should I do with it, and we're like, I don't know, something futuristic but yet a little sexy, and
basically this was like, this image right here was like already on my ceiling, so it wasn't to come up with.
This actual, right, exactly, because then he's pressed down from below. So this was I think it's a good cover, but you can't really define, like, I don't know, it's futuristic.
No, just say it, man. The cover sucked. That's all right. You can tell me.
Well, the cover doesn't do anything to sell somebody on the idea of the book, which is the point.
Right. So here's what we did for the sequels, because we were like, well, there's Future Sex 1, there's Future Sex 2. So this is Future Sex 2. So it's
how original, a big fucking red 2. What a
whoever did that just did not know what he was doing.
That's not even trying.
All right, so you ready for the after? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because I think that this naming convention is something that was new and that makes a lot of sense. So I'm glad we're talking about that too.
Okay, well let me flip over and show you the new one for the Future Sex, for the Future Sex 1, is this cover right here. Now I love this cover.
We're still seeing 2. Oh, here we go. Yeah,
must be a little.
That's so much better than my shit cover.
It is. I mean, let's face it.
For people who are,
I think I'd actually read that.
and I know it's the same story, but I think the same thing.
I think that, okay, so for people who are audio only here, The first book was basically just an image. It wasn't a stock photo, but it had that feel. Like it was just a simple image that had copy over it with a shadow, the future of sex, and that was it.
No, I had a few images. I combined a few different images.
There
and
was a
put some
digital. It
effects
kind of
on
looked like
that.
she was in the Matrix or something.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
I put some work into that motherfucker. I put some work in that shitty cover.
Okay, and then this one is it has kind of like a I don't know.
it's a classic sort of a feel. It's
Yeah,
got a figure with a nude back.
Noirish.
Yeah, she's got a like a reddish, I don't know, a blanket or something like draped basically over her ass, and
It's
it
got
just
like
says
some
the future of sex.
futuristic like map with like lines and dots in the background, and then it's got some like weird effect, and the text is like faded out at the bottom in different color. It looks cool. It looks,
also-
it looks girly-ish.
yeah. Its color scheme is also you see this color scheme in Hollywood posters a lot.
Like the Matrix has this color scheme.
Yeah, it's oranges and teals, and it draws the eye. It looks really, really fantastic, and it's you're competing with all those other thumbnails on a page, and so the coverage is really, really, really matters, because it doesn't matter how big your list is, you're sending people to that page. And Nick Stevenson, he's doing such a fantastic job with his list and with managing his list and with promoting things on his list, but there is a denominator that really matters, and that's that he has really good covers. So when he sends that traffic, he's going to get traction because his covers are also exceptional.
So here's the second thing we did, and I think this is really, really cool. So that was the Future of Sex 1. Now let me show you the Future of Sex 2. And
Is there a big
this
2
just-
on it? That would be awesome.
This just came out a few days ago, so it's brand new to the marketplace. You'll notice a significant difference once it shows up, if it is. It's not even called the Future of Sex 2. It's now called the Girlfriend Experience.
Which is
And-
what I wished for my entire high school existence.
So you're the target market.
Dave pays handsomely for the girlfriend experience these days.
But this is a lesson this is a lesson I feel like we learned with Unicorn Western. So we did Unicorn Western 2, Unicorn Western 3. Now I did it with Fat Vampire as well. They're Fat Vampire 1, Fat Vampire 2. They did have a tagline, and they did have a very different look. But I think that when we called them Unicorn Western 1, 2, and 3, at some point, and when I say at some point, I mean once we had enough stuff that we weren't totally dear only to that property, I realized anyway that I thought of the saga as the book, all 9 books. The full 9-book collection is the book in my head. Like, nobody would get Unicorn Western 2 or 3. Like, that just didn't make sense. And I think in large part it's because they had the same color with the same cover with a different color scheme, and they just had a numeral added. And so by changing the look of the cover, but keeping it on brand, it's the same basic color palette, it's the same basic scheme, the same typography, and then just having the Future of Sex Book 2, I think this is clearly a second book, and it interests somebody who liked the first a lot more than, oh, here it is again.
It's a good point.
So there you go.
We got some
we'll see how it
comments.
works.
Tom
Oh, I meant
hinted-
to, yeah.
Tom Hinton says, I find it so appropriate that the future of sex is in the category named hard science fiction.
Oh, that's something we did too, honestly. I know that was a joke, but my point is it used to be in erotica because we figured, well, it's Lexi, like it's got sex scenes. But that was
we were way too apologetic for that.
We were apologetic. And once I started doing some research, once I started reading some other books that were categorized not as erotica, it's like if it's now obviously this is my opinion, okay? So if it's story first, it's not really erotica, it just contains some sex scenes. Like Game of Thrones has a bunch of really explicit sex scenes. Like that just happens in books. But those authors don't say, hey, look at this porn. That's like there's a story, and then there happens to be a sex scene, and that's what this is.
Are there
So-
arcing ropes of jizz?
Maybe. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it. But it is in
I think that might be the line.
it is in science fiction and I don't remember, psychological something maybe, and that's apt. Like that, those are the right categories, and it's also not. It doesn't have that adult flag either, so it's showing up in search. So I think it has a lot going for it, and I'm really excited.
Chrissy Moss says the new covers are amazing. First things that grab my eye when I click the link. Quotidian Light agreed. The new ones really pull you in. Not like those old ones. Those old ones.
Well, if you're listening live, by the way, guys, we sent this out, and the first one is free still today, just today, just
yes,
on the.
And I would like to say that Jacob is going to put these covers in the show notes for this episode because we're going to start doing a better job.
I'd like to say that too.
I would like to say that. I'm going to hop on board of things I would like to say.
So yes, these are going to be in the show notes, so you can actually just check out the covers there, even if you're not
the show notes where? On the website or
selfpublishingpodcast.com, but we're no longer naming them with episode numbers. So it would be the most recent one as of January 23rd, 2015, or January 28th, 2015. So there you go. Sorry, no help at all.
I forgot what I was going to say.
I have
That's
something
probably
to
good.
say if you're done with that.
Yeah, sure.
This is just sort of a shout out, but I felt like I should because I don't want to be one. Like every once in a while, you'll hear somebody talk about something and it's just all their idea, and like we get ideas from other people, and so I like to give credit where credit is due.
It's about time you give me credit.
And so I've been reading Dave's book, Why It's Not Worth It and Why You Shouldn't Care. No, but I have been listening to a lot of stuff, and I've been reading a lot of stuff. And so, if you guys are cool with it, I thought I'd just mention a few books we liked recently.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
So I mentioned Nick Stevenson's last time, How to Supercharge Your Kindle Sales. I think everybody should read that. But I've also started reading his Reader Magnets book, and I really respect the way that Nick does things because it seems very familiar. Like it's a short little book. Reader Magnets is short. It's free, and he's using it as a funnel. Like I'm on his autoresponder list. I listened to his Your First 10KReaders.com stuff, and then there's he's got a premium product, and I'm like, he's not sleazy. I love him, and he's got good stuff to say. Simon's book, Audio for Indies, I read. Which is great if you're looking for audiobook stuff. What else? What else do you guys have?
I didn't know we were.
Well, it isn't meant to be a segment. I just felt I wanted to give some
I read
credit.
this book called Redacted. Oh, it's fucking amazing.
We'll talk about that on Better Off on Deck.
You know what? Dave did read Cursed. I don't even think you read this, Johnny.
I read Cursed, and I loved. I think Johnny did know.
No, I knew. I knew.
Oh, okay. All right. So
yeah, he shared that with us.
He got way past the wedding scene. It was awesome.
I read the whole first book.
Which is great. I love it. Thank you, Dave.
So exciting. Monumental. I do think, well, two things here. First of all, I actually, for this week's Almanac, I did a video where I talked about everything that I read in the last quarter of last year. And the video is, I talk fast
8
in
hours long.
Well, no, it's 49 minutes.
Including the porn? Or...
it's 49 minutes, and I talk pretty fast, but I read a lot of stuff. And so each of the, for each book, I say why I read it, and what I got out of it, and whether I would recommend it. And
Was Clive Barker in there?
Yes, yes, it was the last fiction book I read last year.
Fast forward. Okay.
Besides, I didn't talk much about it though. I mean, there's a lot of books on the list. But you know what I want to do is like some dedicated little video reviews on books. I think that'd be cool. But this wasn't that. This was basically just a big rundown. But that was interesting. But a little segment of the SPP show. I know we need to get into our topic really soon now. But
I also have a spontaneous discussion I wanted to have.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Something that I think we should do is just like a kind of like a something awesome. And we could do it before we actually, the bullshit half of the show, before our spontaneous conversation, like something awesome that we came across this week, something awesome that we want to share, that we want to.
I'm a little afraid to hear Dave's comments on something awesome that came across this week.
It could be for Dave. It could be a rant for all those people who don't get to the pleasure of his anger.
The thing that pissed me off.
Yeah, but I think that just make a note during the week. Oh, that's what I want to share on Friday, because I think that the three of us we're always coming across stuff, and I know we share them with each other, but I think there are things that listeners would really love to hear that if we just make a conscious effort to, that'll be the awesome thing that I share on Friday. Maybe.
I have two more I wanted to shout out to. The first I already mentioned was just Steve Scott's 61 Ways to Sell More Nonfiction Books on Kindle. Steve himself said that some of that's a little dated, but still totally worth reading. A lot of strategic stuff. And the last one I'm barely into, but I know Sean is reading it. Is Libby Hawker has a book called Gotta Read It. It's about
that was great.
Descriptions. So I actually I haven't had time to really delve in, but I did skim through it to get her 5 bullet point things that should go into a description before I wrote the Le Fleur de Blanc. I specifically was like, okay, I want to get back to that and remember it. So she was on Simon's Rocking Self-Publishing podcast recently, and I was intrigued by Gotta Read It. So there you go. And on that note, I know we talked about covers, but I don't know. Sean's been handling the covers, and so I'm just a little worried. If he were to get hit by a bus, I'm very concerned about what I would do with my cover situation. He's handling it all. I have a real I don't think there are competent cover designers in the world. I mean, look what Dave did with the original Future of Sex cover, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, clearly I can't handle book cover responsibilities anymore.
So what would you do? In a Sean gets hit by a bus scenario, after you get past the excitement, because there's probably going to be a little bit of disappointment after you're the initial reaction of hey, I don't have the list anymore.
Yeah, after the party. And what will we? Well, I think what we'll do.
You just retire, right?
Yeah, we'd stop making books.
Yeah.
Or
all right. Well, let's move on then.
Or we would turn to the professionals at 99 Designs.
No, because there's 99 of them, right?
There are at least 99,000. No, maybe not that many, but there are a lot of professionals. And what happens with 99 Designs is if you have a book, you obviously want a great cover for it, right?
I saw some really terrible ones when I was looking through recently. Can I get one of those? I saw one with somebody had hand drawn it, so I figure I can just do that.
Well, if you want your book not to sell, yeah, you can do that.
Well, that is on my list.
Yeah, not to sell.
Right.
But if you want a book cover that looks like the other books that are selling, those ones at the top of the charts and shit, you want to go to 99 Designs. You go there and you have a contest. And this is a contest where you tell the designers what your book is about. You tell them your idea for a cover. Even if your idea sucks, they might be able to make something good out of it. And maybe you give them some samples of other book covers. Hey, I'd like my book to look kind of like this, but not copy it. And you will have designers competing to give you the best cover that they can do. And every time we've done a contest at 99 Designs, and we've done several for several of our books, we've had more great book covers than we could choose from. It is truly a great service, and it's a quick service. And the best part is, if you don't like, if somehow for the first time ever they just come back with nothing but shit covers,
right,
you don't have to pay for it.
Oh.
So it's great.
What if I'm a self-sabotaging personality and I'm secretly terrified of success, and somebody has basically bullied me into publishing my book, but I don't want anyone to ever read it? Should I go with this?
You should avoid 99 Designs at all costs. But if you want your book to sell, you go there and you get a great cover.
All right, and you should do that by going to 99designs.com/SPP. Let me do that again for the money, everybody. 99designs.com/SPP.
And I have a question.
Oh, what
shit!
God,
Derail!
Interrupts the ad read. Go ahead.
What's your question, birthday boy?
Well, I just want to know if there's what if I want something like extra power? Is there any special pack I could order?
Well, there is a power pack that you will receive if you use that link, but only if you use that link, the 99designs.com/SPP. And that'll make your contest stand out from the crowd, and bold it, and you get more listings. Like you're available to a wide variety of people, and you'll on average get I forget the statistics. I'm a total
and 85% more.
That's what I thought it was. Much like the
I
early
have it
bird
tattooed.
deadline, I remember that number. I'm good at numbers.
Will
So,
99 Designs help me lose weight?
Well, they
no.
haven't helped me. Some things even they can't do.
All right, so let's move on to. By the way, we were saying earlier that 99 Designs hasn't sent us any new ideas for ads, so we figure that they just must like these ad reads where we talk about assassins and Sean with the power pack upgrade interrupting on his birthday. So kudos to
I
you.
imagine we'll get an email next week.
Cease and desist, possibly. All right. So the topic for today, like I said, is how do you? Now, I said Amazon because they're the big dog, but in general, like how to use the online booksellers instead of having them use you. And a few things have been circulating about this that have caused me to think of this, and I'll just go through a few of them. When Kindle Unlimited debuted, the first reaction that I heard from a lot of indies was to us, like, you guys should be exclusive and select and take advantage of this Kindle Unlimited. It's great. You know, you got to pull your stuff from other platforms, but this is how you do it. But, you know, select and unlimited. And so they're like, yay, big benefits for unlimited. And then there's a bunch of other things where authors don't like unlimited. And they're like, well, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. My revenue dropped way down, and I'm pulling out of the program. And people really kind of sing in the blues about unlimited. And the whole
Dave,
idea.
do you want to sing any blues?
Dave's gone.
No.
Dave's not here, man. And so, and then recently, I'm in a Facebook group for Author Marketing Live, which Sean and I are going to do the 29th at 3 p.m.
Next
Eastern.
Thursday. Yeah.
Next Thursday, January 29th, 2015 at 3 p.m. Eastern. AuthorMarketingLive.com. And there was a Facebook thread in there about Amazon supposedly changed their algorithms again. Now, this is me reporting sort of second degree. I don't know for sure. We'd have to talk to our algorithm guy, Ed, to greatly favor recent books.
30 days.
Right.
It was a 30-day cliff, they were calling it.
Well, the 30-day cliff, we've already talked about. Like David Gaughran talks about in Let's Get Visible and stuff. That's where like you drop off of the hot new releases and that sort of thing. But I think they say it's gotten steeper. Like the idea of if you aren't, so the idea is you have to keep publishing, or your backlist titles are gonna fall off the planet basically. And so I don't know, just a lot of concern. And I've been listening to a lot of Nick Stevenson, and he talks a lot about email, which we already know, but like you hear it from another direction. And I think that the key to all of this for Select and Unlimited and any worrying about any changes in algorithms and stuff is the same as the argument that we make for why you shouldn't base your platform on Facebook or Twitter or anything else and should have your own author site, because you don't want to be digital sharecropping, to use that term, and want to control your platform. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit with you guys, the idea of, rather than saying I'm going to put my book on Amazon and Amazon has to, you know, do a lot of the selling for you. It just, you kind of sell a lot automatically or whatever. How it's really, really important to always be thinking of how can you take control? How can you get those people back in your house so that they're your fans rather than something Amazon controls?
Well, I think something that's really, really important to remember, and I mean, even before I say what I'm about to say, I love Amazon. Amazon has absolutely changed my life. I think that what they give authors is better than anybody else has ever given authors in the history of ever. Like, it's awesome. The fact that we can do what we do is fantastic, and let's be real, we couldn't do it without Amazon. You know, no publisher in the world would have taken Yesterday's Gone and published it. They just wouldn't have. And so, awesome to Amazon. That's really, really awesome. But Amazon is not looking out for authors. Like, they're not. They have their interests first, always, 100% of the time, and that's the way it should be. Amazon is not in the business of making authors money. They're in the business of making themselves money, and authors are a really, really strong conduit to that. You know, they did start as a bookseller. That's the first thing they ever sold before they moved into, you know, DVDs and CDs and all the other stuff. And
Butt plugs.
they're
Everything in the
everything.
world.
Right. They're a huge company. They own a lot of stuff. Like they own IMDb. There's a lot of stuff that they own, and they've got their hands in a lot of things, and that's all well and good. But the environment they created for authors made sense. They wanted to open these doors. They wanted us to come there, and it allowed them to really compete and just totally change the game. But they want shoppers, you know, and if we go there for our books, we go there for our laptops, you know, there are other buying decisions that we make by being loyal to Amazon. So it's loyalty that they're going after. And it's just like the parallel where, you know, Barnes & Noble
Much like Hitler Youth.
Barnes & Noble and Kobo, you know, for two examples, they're going to merchandise a little bit more like a bookstore. They're going to load the front window with, you know, that $9.99 titles because they have profit margins matter there. Amazon does not care if you buy a 99-cent book if you are also sticking around to buy other stuff. They really just want a happy buyer because their business is so broad. And so that recurring revenue, something like Unlimited, that's really, really great for them because it keeps their business on a recurring model, which is very powerful. So you've got to understand that Amazon is going to continue. There is never going to be a plateau with Amazon. They are going to constantly evolve. They're going to constantly change the game. And it really, I don't think there is a better parallel in the world here than SEO. It's people who have built their businesses on SEO always lose when Google makes a major update. If they're not putting content first and building relationships with their readers, and they're just reliant on search engine traffic, that's just a very, very dangerous game to play. It's like trying to build something out of sand, and the tide comes in, and fuck, I just lost my sandcastle. So you really have to.
Or a bully comes along and kicks it over. And then you have to get one of those ads in the back of comics to make yourself stronger and come back. And
The Atlas. Did you ever buy one of those ever? Tell the truth.
No, I just bought a gun.
So I think
Lot
that
less work.
I think you have to really understand that Amazon is not the enemy, and Amazon is not your best friend. Amazon is Amazon, and you have to figure out that the common things aren't ever going to change, and they haven't changed since our very first episode. You want to write good books, you want to write as many of them as you can, and you want to absolutely communicate with your audience and build that audience and make them eager for your next stuff. And that has nothing to do with Amazon.
I would like to offer a shift in thinking as a good way to maybe look at this. So I think that a lot of people, we've had this discoverability talk. Like I know that at least two of the three of us, I don't know if Dave read Christine Catherine Rush's book Discoverability. We talked to Tucker Max about somebody's going to figure out the discoverability thing with books, and it's just come up over and over again. And I think that people consider Amazon and discoverability, the other booksellers too, but Amazon's the big dog, to be that's the best we have. Like Amazon, they're close. You know, Amazon's recommendation engine is close to the best discoverability platform, but it's not quite there. Well, in my mind, even making that connection and saying that Amazon is a discoverability platform is inherently flawed. Amazon, I think, in the safest scenario, is a transaction. It's a sales place. It's a marketplace. It's a place where books are sold. And so is Kobo, and so is Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords, and the Sony store, and your own website, and everything else. Those are places where books are sold. It's up to us, I feel, to figure out the discoverability, to figure out the marketing. And so Amazon, if you shift to looking at Amazon as a store rather than as a place where books are discovered, which I know they still are, but if you make that shift in thinking, then you can start saying, well, okay, how can I be the marketing engine? How can I be the top of mind to my readers? How can I have them in my camp so that when I have a book, it isn't a matter of Amazon presenting it to them, it's a matter of me presenting it to them. How do I get in front of more people so that I can do more of that presenting? And this really kind of clicked today when, again, I feel like I'm all Nick all the time, but I heard an interview with Nick that he did, and he said somebody asked him.
Yeah, he has a boner for Nick, you guys. Have you noticed?
Well,
that?
it's just I've just been very Nick
that
focused
accent.
recently. Like I'm sure I'll move on to Simon because he has a great accent too, and then I'll make Joanna's got a great accent. David Gogren, they all have
David's
great
the best.
accents. David does have a great accent. So anyway, this is
he has
this
the
is the
accent
last.
and the mustache.
This is the last bit, and then I'll surrender the mic for a bit. Is the interviewer asked him, "What is it that made you think of that you really need to grow your email list?" Because that's one of his major things: is email. But you can't say that too many times fast, or it gets garbled. So that's one of his big things. And so the guy asked him, and I expected him to say, "Oh, I don't know. I have an internet marketing background. I listen to the self-publishing podcast. You know, I got Andre Chaperone's Autoresponder Madness course." Like I was expecting something like this, and he said, "Well, you know, it was BookBub." He said, "I ran a BookBub ad, and you know, I had this big increase in sales, and I just started thinking, like, what if I had that list? Like that's their whole business.
Right.
Is look how big our list is." And so he said, "What if I just grew my list? And then it's like I'm a BookBub of one." Because think about it, like we're selling a shit ton of beams today because somebody emailed. Well, it wasn't us, but it could be if we keep working on getting people into our camp rather than relying on any seller to do that work for us.
I
Or we
think
should
that there's
start our own BookBub company.
Let's get in with the Buck Books guys. Like we like them. We're having them on the show.
I think that there's a tendency for indie authors, and I'm not saying this to shit on indie authors at all, but I do think that there's a tendency for a lot of indie authors to want things to be a little bit easy. You know, they're not marketers. You know, they don't like that.
Everybody wants things easy, though.
I want things easy. I'll admit it.
Yeah,
Like
I
shit
want.
on indie authors, but
We'll
open
do it.
wide.
I'll do it the hard way, but I want things to be easy too.
Right, but I think that okay, let me rephrase this. I think that marketing for a lot of authors is uncomfortable. I think that the thought of building a list and communicating with a list is daunting. And even if you understand the mechanics of it, the follow through is hard. You know, it's difficult to think, oh, what do I email my list this week? I don't have a new release, and staying
Yes.
consistent with that is very difficult.
And writers are introverts for the most part, and like me, they're not comfortable like talking to people and saying, "Hey, buy my book," and all the shit. That,
Yeah,
you know,
this is all really hard.
more.
So if you think of like Amazon's going to do that part for me, and I just have to get the books out there, like that's awesome because you're already ahead of a lot of other authors who aren't even realizing that you have to write, publish, repeat, and you have to at least get the content out there. So you've solved the content problem, but you haven't really solved the marketing problem. You've just delayed it. You've said, okay, well, this is working now because Amazon's taking care of it. But the moment that they aren't, the problem just keeps circling back. And then you'll figure out, okay, well, now I know that if I do this thing, if I go into Select, or now if I go into Select and Leverage Unlimited, and now if I write 20,000 word novellas, you're changing your art based on Amazon's strategy. And you don't know what their strategy is 2 or 3 steps ahead. You never will. Amazon's never going to send an open letter to all indie authors letting them know what's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year. It's not going to happen.
Unless you're Hugh Howey.
Well, that might be true, actually. But your strategy has to be just ahead of that. It really has to be about what's best for you, your business, your art, the kind of books that you want to create, the kind of readers that you want to cultivate, and then design it around that. If you're saying, I'm doing this, and that doesn't mean you can't leverage what's available at all, because clearly we're doing that. We have a BookBub ad today. We put Future of Sex in Select. Like, we are experimenting because we're optimizing, and we're doing it one by one at a time and seeing how we can leverage our catalog. That's the joy of having 50 titles in a catalog. We have a lot to play with. But when we're talking in broad terms about what we want to accomplish for the year and what we want to accomplish in the next 5 years, things like Unlimited are not in any way part of that discussion, because we don't, our sandcastle is going to get knocked down by either the ocean or a bully, and we need to be ahead of that.
We need guns.
I think
lots of guns.
Bring the guns. I think you need to know what you want to get out of it too. So if you make the decision to go into Select because you want to take advantage of Unlimited, I think that you need to go into that understanding what sort of your game plan is and what your exit plan is. So if you say, okay, well, I'm going to, I want borrows, like that's what I want, then you're accepting, basically the low end is $1.30 or something. Like it goes up and down, but right now that's like, you're pretty safe betting on $1.30 a borrow. And if you're okay with that, and you say, well, it's going to make up more, I'm going to get more out of it, like what am I going to get and what am I going to give up? Well, you're going to give up the opportunity to sell on the other platforms. And for most of our franchises, that's too much to give up. Now, for a few, we're willing to play. And we're willing to say, okay, well, let's see whether we do get the advantages. Now, here's a few things about Unlimited about Select and Unlimited that people don't necessarily know. Number one is if somebody opens your book, somebody borrows it, you get credit for that borrow when they reach the 10% mark. So, but the second thing is that the ranking happens right away. This is, as I understand it, I think this is Lindsay Baroker information. So I'm not. I don't know if this is right, but that's what Lindsay said, I think. Is so you're getting a few things. Number one, if you have a title that's highly clickable, like I think The Future of Sex is a really clickable title. Now, it's possible that people might borrow that and never open it and return it. But if they do, we're still getting a rankings boost. Like we're still getting visibility boost. We're still getting, I don't know if you get also bots or not. And then if they're going to get to the 10% mark or they're going to start reading it, then that relies a little bit more on our storytelling. But I think that you have to go in saying, okay, well, how do I get people off? Remember when we had Paul Wolf on forever ago, was one of the first guests? Paul said, my goal on YouTube, he was talking to us about YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
that the first thing I want is to get that person off of YouTube and onto my site. The first thing he said. And I think the same is true of Unlimited. You say, well, does this give me more exposure for what I'm sacrificing? That I feel like I do a better job of my longer-term strategy being enhanced. I'm getting people over to me faster.
Right,
Look
and
like
that's
consistent.
actually a really, really great articulation of the idea, how do you use Amazon while they're using you? Because it's okay for them to be used. It's like people. You can have a relationship with someone where,
Dave, the number of times you've been in a codependent sexual relationship where you know they've been using you for sex, but you're like, it's okay, man, I'm getting mine.
Completely fine with it.
Right, exactly. Same thing.
Right, and so I think that's fine. If you're like, look, I'm going to be on Unlimited for the next 6 months, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to have my stuff free constantly. I'm going to have rotating titles, and I'm going to, every time I put something free, I want between 100 and 1,000 people on my list, and that way, when I leave, I have X number of people on the list, and then here's my autoresponder strategy from then on, and here's the books I'm going to promote to that list, and that's a whole strategy, and it's a way of not just falling subject to Amazon's whims, but leveraging Amazon's whims into your exact strategy. And it's certainly hard to do, but it's by no means impossible. It means you're not just going in blindly and saying, oh, Unlimited is available, I'm going to put all my stuff in Unlimited now. It's a matter of saying, okay, Unlimited is a tool, and here's how I can use that tool to build the thing that I'm actually wanting to build.
Dave, you want to? I feel like you've been silent for too long. Any thoughts you want to weigh in on, or should we just keep blabbing on?
No, I'm in agreement. I think we're doing. I think we're lucky that we've got the number of books we do to play with. We're not if you have just a few books, then it's a lot more difficult to do this. I think you're more reliant on Amazon if you have just a few books, unless you happen to break out on one of the other stores.
But that said, you can always be adding to your mailing list.
Oh yeah, obviously. I mean, there's no doubt on mailing lists whatsoever.
So let's pretend that Amazon decides, because so Facebook is a really good example of this. The famous example that I know is that What to Read After 50 Shades of Grey Facebook group. It was like this big revenue driver. Like I think they made their money on Amazon affiliate promotions, and they just got all this traffic, and then Facebook changed the game, and then suddenly their posts weren't going out, and they had to start over almost. And so
And
what if this
that was
happened?
big business too at its height. It was big business.
So what if that happened with Amazon? And I think the question you need to keep asking yourself in a non-paranoid sort of way, but just
Dave doesn't know
being
how to do
aware
that.
of it, is what would happen if that happened with Amazon? What would happen if Amazon decided to stop selling books? Like, that's kind of a worst-case scenario. And if you can't answer that, if you kind of just go, oh, shit, like, I got a problem, then, and everybody's going to do that a little bit. Like, I would, if Amazon went away tomorrow, I would definitely feel we had a problem, but I feel like we would have less of a problem.
Right, but we would be in a position to where, okay, well, we've already got all these. We have a mechanism to sell them on site. We have our lists. It would be a lot of work, and we'd have to divert a little bit, but we wouldn't have to completely erase the board and start over with new ideas. We would have to augment the ideas that we already had, and that's, I think, the point. You want to be able. You want to be pliable. You want to be in a position where you can pivot to where Amazon's best interests are in alignment with your best interests, and you're not just following behind them like a puppy dog.
We'll be standing on street corners selling books.
Well, I mean, I know that you're joking, but you know, if you released Yesterday's Gone season 6, and that isn't out yet, right? I'm remembering the chronology right. So if you release that, you've built up a lot of goodwill with that series. You build a ton of people who are just dying for it. You get emails. When is the next one out? And you can send your email to people and say, buy it from Nook. You know, like that's possible. Like, is it? And people may not have Nook readers, but here's where you can get it. Like, you already like us. We've done the hard work of making you like us and getting you on our list and in our camp, and you think of us. We're top of mind. Here's where you get it. And that's the sort of thing I think you need to be trying to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave weighing in, everybody. Well, what would you say? Let's brainstorm. What are the key things we need to be thinking about? I'll go first. Getting people on your mailing list.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a key one, but I think that's actually, I think it's the next step. I can't say it's more important because without somebody on your list, you can't even do the next step. But I think it's more important than people realize generally is what's that next step? What is their first interaction with you? What are you giving them in exchange for the email address? How awesome is it? What is your follow through like? And I think that if you're really serious about building an awesome list, you kind of want to give cool stuff away. So a good example, if we're sticking with Yesterday's Gone, is if we gave people straight up, and we could do it because we have, we have the inventory. So if we made Yesterday's Gone free, and joining the list got you season 2, that's a
sounds like a strategy that we may have heard from somebody else that I've been mocked for mentioning. What strategy would that be that recently brought that to our attention?
This is Nick Stephenson's strategy, and he actually goes into a lot of detail in the. Is it Reader Magnets? Is that the name of the book? Reader Magnets. And this is very basic internet marketing stuff. But what makes Reader Magnets kind of magical is that it's old school internet marketing stuff, just done really with a fiction voice. Like, how do you
internet
adopt
marketing without the evil?
How do you?
Where's the fun in that? It's like non-alcoholic beer.
How do you apply these principles to an audience that's really buying fiction for a few dollars at a time? And it's pretty simple. Now, that's a lot harder to do if you've got 2 books, one and then a sequel, and you're saying I'll give the sequel away for the list. Maybe you're not quite prepared.
I would do that today. I would. Now, it's easy to say that looking back because we don't have to do that. We don't only have 2. But I think one of those, if you were starting over and you only had 2 books, I think I would do that because the list is more important to me, even if I don't make very much on the books.
I agree too. I know that would be an impossible conversation to have with Dave, but I do. I agree. I think that having the list and making them love you is really, really fundamental to author growth because there's just so many authors out there. And as indies get better and better, the stories themselves are going to get better and better. We understand as a culture that product descriptions and covers are going to have to improve. They're going to get better and better and better. How do you stand out? The authors who are going to truly stand out are the ones who have relationships with their readers. And it's not just about, hey, I'm a cool guy, I wrote something that you liked. It's
You should start following your readers. You should start stalking them, hanging outside their window. You can have a relationship with anybody if you try hard enough.
Yeah, but that's not
House
scalable.
with a candlelit dinner. Hey, I heard you like my books.
I think creepy or needy at all.
Well, so Hugh Howey doesn't need Amazon. Now, Hugh might disagree. Hugh might say, well, but wait a minute, I get a lot of my money from Amazon. But he doesn't need Amazon in the way that a lot of authors need Amazon. If Amazon shut down, Hugh could contact his people and say, hey, I got a new book. Here it is. You have to send me $3 in the mail in cash with blood on it.
Like in people something with a box of sand.
The best was Dave talking about. There's a video where Hugh is adding sand to paperback copies of his book Sand. He's like, and Hugh is like really smart with this stuff. And like, I just, I think that'd be cool. Like they get it open, there's sand. Dave's like, motherfucker, there's sand in my book. I'm so pissed off. But I think that's the sort of power. Once you're known, then it's like, we can sell books to you. And I think that we want those Amazon tactics and benefits that they give us. Like we want also bots. We want discoverability in the charts and all that. And like I'm not in any way saying that we don't need that. Like no way am I saying that. But that being said, there are basically two ways that people are going to buy your books. Number one is they happen to see you. That's the discoverability. That's the visibility in also bots. That's the 30-day cliff. That's all the stuff we've been talking about. That's promotions. And then the second way that people are going to discover you is they are already read something. And I'm sorry, the second way people buy your books is they already read something and they want to buy something else. So if you're in the position where you have a bunch of people who you've already pleased, you've already developed a relationship, they already know.
Has that ever happened to you, Dave?
If you're in a position where you pleased somebody?
Never.
Yeah, where you already have people that you pleased? Has that ever happened?
No, I don't think I've ever pleased anybody.
Once somebody has read Yesterday's Gone Season 1 and they haven't left a 1-star review saying these guys are maggots coming out of a trash can, that reader is a lot easier to get. Assuming you have a conduit, assuming you have somebody to get in touch with them, any sort of platform at all,
I'll find them.
To get Season 2.
Yeah.
I guess the discussion's over. But anyway.
There's that lull. End of show. Play the music.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just say I think that the safest thing is to remember that you can't abdicate. And again, I'm not pointing fingers, but I don't think you can abdicate marketing to any of the booksellers. And you have to say, well, let's use what they have. Let's maximize it. Let's use those tactics as long as they don't conflict with the strategy. But that's still your job. Like it's still your job to market, to build your brand, to build connections with the readers. And you have to shake your ass.
Every platform has tools. Every single one has great tools, and it's up to you to build your own set. You decide what goes in your box because only you know what you're trying to build.
Was Alexi's email today?
Only you decide what goes in your toolbox because only you know what you're trying to build. So
only
I think
to prevent things from going in your box.
All right, we're done.
We got some quick comments.
Yeah.
Tom Hinton says, I literally bought Gotta Read It about 10 minutes ago while listening to the podcast. Creepy. Saber K says, just grabbed Gotta Read It.
Libby can send our commissions check to this address.
Ryan Attar says, things 99 Designs can't do. Make these ads better, create shitty covers, and help Dave lose weight. Timothy Lewis says, I've heard Caption Access are great at weight loss.
No, they are. They're fantastic at it. They're all very slim over there. Yeah. Mauricio had looked up at the woman he was defiling. Greatest ad read ever.
Yes.
Any more comments from people on YouTube?
Mikey Campling says Dave already stands on street corner selling his wares, doesn't he? And I said yes, Mikey. Thank you again for your patronage. So yeah. Mikey pays my weekends. He's my sugar daddy.
There you go. All right. So I guess just before we go, I'll just issue a final reminder about the if you're interested in joining us live for Sterling and Stone live on ice.
Watch Dave fall on his ass.
April 19th, 18th, and 19th. You could be cutting shapes out of it. Like you'd do a little figure eight and two things would fall into the water.
Your life is a cartoon, isn't it?
April 18th and 19th in Austin, Texas. If you're interested, sterlingandstone.net/colonist. And the early bird registration, which saves you 25%, ends on January 28th. And we do currently, I believe, have 9 spots left. And we actually, Dave, you'll be pleased to hear this. So we formally, because it was always kind of on the table, like if it sells out and there's a lot of demand, maybe we could force Dave to come and as compensation for opening more seats, like we can add more seats and then we'll add Dave and that'll make it okay. We have formally let you off the hook. So
that's good. Because
so Dave, we will not attempt to coerce you in order to have more seats, but that does mean that there really only are 9. We aren't.
Yeah, we decided that we're because it'll sell out and
we want to preserve the small group because it's only 24 people, so we want to preserve the small group size for the people who are going. So.
That is the weekend of my son's birthday, so I will be with.
You're announcing that on the air?
Aren't you worried that no? It's with his kid. It's okay. He's got photos of his kid. He's got the kid's birthday.
Well, good thing he's not talking about what cell phone carrier he uses.
Could you list his fears for us? That'd be great. All right, so I guess that's it.
Fearful of abs.
He's fearful of abs. Well, I know that for first experience. He ran away. All right, so this has been the Self-Publishing Podcast, and I already said about the Colonist session, but if you want to check out our best advice without the off-topic bullshit, check out our guide, Write, Publish, Repeat, the No Luck Required Guide to Self-Publishing Success at selfpublishingpodcast.com/WPR. And thanks a lot for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, there will be a Better Off Undead. Stay tuned.